So let me ask you something. Do you know exactly what you need to do?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's a huge report for work or a really difficult conversation you've been putting off. Maybe it's finally starting that side project.
Right.
And here's the kicker. You are completely, 100% capable of doing it. You have the skills, you have the resources, but you still find yourself just delaying the start.
And you tell yourself you're not lazy, you're just waiting.
Exactly.
That is the quiet struggle. I think it affects so many capable people today. It's such a subtle habit, but it's this constant, almost invisible force that undermines real progress. We're talking about lethargy, and it's a fascinating topic because it really does hide in plain sight.
Today, we are pulling the curtain back on this silent enemy. For this deep dive, we're drawing from a guide called Overcoming Lethargy by Reuben Juma Onunga.
And what makes this source so compelling is where it comes from. I mean, the author's a professional engineer.
Yeah, so his insights are grounded in, practical execution, systems thinking, the real world of leadership. But he blends that with this powerful philosophical wisdom, Stoic ideas, for example, and also ancient biblical teaching.
It's practical, it's systematic, and it's also deeply reflective. The author establishes the core premise almost immediately. Lethargy is not about your potential.
Not your talent or intelligence.
Exactly. It is simply the subtle habit of delay, of hesitation, of just postponed action. So our mission today is to really unpack his core argument.
Which is that progress is unlocked by movement in the present moment. It's a challenge to you, the listener, to stop negotiating with delay.
Okay, let's get into it.
Let's unpack this. Because we have to start by, I think, clarifying the enemy. Lethargy is almost always mislabeled.
As laziness.
As laziness. And if you're listening to this and you identify with this struggle, chances are you are not lazy.
That distinction is so vital. Laziness avoids work altogether. It wants to conserve energy, period. Lethargy, though, it just delays starting the work.
It's an absence of initiation.
Yes. And you find it in really thoughtful, responsible, often overworked people. They spend tons of energy thinking about the work, just never actually moving into action.
And this is where the trap gets really sophisticated. Because if you're a high-functioning person, you need a good excuse to delay. Lethargy doesn't say, I can't be bothered.
No, it says, I must be prudent. The source material uses that incredible biblical example. The sluggard says, there is a lion outside.
Which sounds like caution, right?
It sounds like necessary caution. I just need to wait until the conditions are safe, until things are certain. But the author frames it as pure avoidance. It's a rationalization.
It's your fear of starting, disguised as strategic patience.
And that's made so much worse by modern professional life. Which, it praises endless preparation, over planning.
Oh, for sure. Onunga notes that gathering data, refining the strategy, that becomes a hiding place.
Yeah.
You can feel really productive just analyzing the plan, and you get to avoid the much harder work of actually doing it.
And this ties right into the philosophical wisdom in the guide. Seneca pointed this out 2,000 years ago. He said, we suffer more in imagination than in reality.
Wow.
All the failure you perceive, the complexity, the uncertainty that's delaying your action, it mostly exists in your mind.
And it gets multiplied by just thinking about it over and over.
Exactly. And here's why that state of delay is so actively harmful. It compounds. Delay makes the task feel heavier. Your energy just leaks while you're waiting, negotiating with yourself, building up this mental resistance.
So what was once a manageable task starts to feel overwhelming, intimidating.
Because your momentum is quietly decaying. That's the definition of inertia, right? The longer you're still, the more force it takes to get moving.
It's why trying to start a big project on a Friday evening after putting it off all week feels like trying to move a mountain.
Yeah. So we have to confront the biggest lie that lethargy tells us, which is all about readiness.
The myth of readiness,
Yeah.
that insidious belief that I will start when I am ready. And to the listener, that sounds like common sense.
Of course. Why would you start building without blueprints? Why have a tough conversation if you don't know the outcome?
But the guide calls that the most effective trap there is for delaying progress. Indefinitely. Because if you wait for full clarity, for complete confidence, you might wait forever.
Readiness, as the author puts it, isn't a feeling you wait for. It's a process, and it's forged in motion, not in contemplation. We become ready by doing.
That just flips the whole script. Clarity and confidence are not preconditions. They are the consequences of starting.
Yes.
The path is almost never fully lit up at the start. So for the person who feels anxious about that unknown outcome, the anxiety doesn't disappear with more planning. It disappears with the first step.
And this is so beautifully illustrated in the source material
Yeah.
with this synthesis of faith and action. It uses examples where the action, the initiation, comes before the evidence.
Abraham went before he knew the destination.
Moses stepped toward the sea before it parted. The miracle, the clarity, the path forward.
Yeah.
It all followed the movement. You start, and the path appears because you started.
Which directly addresses that other huge misconception, waiting for motivation or energy before you begin. I know a lot of listeners feel genuinely exhausted and they think, I just have to recharge before I can start.
Is the guide arguing that physical exhaustion is irrelevant?
Yeah.
No, not irrelevant, but often misdiagnosed. We mistake the mental fatigue of inaction for genuine physical depletion. We assume energy has to come before the start. The truth is the inverse.
Energy follows action.
Energy follows action. Lethargy thrives on stillness, which makes movement feel heavy. But the moment you begin to move, energy responds.
There's actually science behind that. Aristotle observed that motion produces change, and change sustains motion. Once the system is moving, it's just easier to keep it moving.
It's the difference between trying to push a parked car versus keeping a car rolling. And Seneca pointed out that many people feel exhausted not because they're overworked, but because they are underengaged.
That's interesting.
That idle energy, that mental loop of negotiation and guilt over the task you postponed, that's often more draining than the actual work itself.
So the key takeaway here is, well, it's vital. Motivation is a terrible initiator.
Awful.
It's a terrible starter. It responds to progress, but it rarely shows up to begin the fight. If you wait for the perfect mood, you might never start.
You have to move regardless of the feeling.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting. Let's talk about the paralysis of analysis. Overthinking often feels like being prudent or even intelligent. But the guide insists it's just avoidance. It's fueled by fear.
The mind tries to eliminate uncertainty through endless analysis, but uncertainty, it's a future state. You can only manage it through movement in the present.
So overthinking is really just a sophisticated kind of paralysis.
Totally. We refine the plan, we analyze every risk, and we create this illusion of progress. But the author reminds us, a stack of detailed plans is still just a stack of paper.
Planning is not action.
It's not.
So for the listener, the challenge is separating that prudent planning from just fearful avoidance. Where's the line?
I think the source makes that line very clear by focusing on the cost of waiting. It uses that powerful caution. The one who watches the wind will not sow.
If you wait for the perfect political climate, the perfect market, the perfect mood,
You guarantee stagnation. The core message is that imperfect action beats perfect hesitation. Every single time.
and we have to look at what that delay is quietly stealing from us.
Yep.
Because delay is never neutral, it's an active loss.
Let's spend a minute on the 4 invisible costs the source highlights. The first one, and it's the most tragic, is time. Seneca warned that life isn't short, but we make it short by wasting it. That the tragedy of lethargy isn't just the work not getting done, it's that delay steals time in these small, unrecoverable moments. A Tuesday morning, a Friday evening.
And they add up.
They shape our years. And unlike money, time is the one cost that is truly irreversible. You just don't get that week back.
That is profound. Okay, the second cost is confidence.
Yeah. With every delay, your self-trust erodes. What was once a simple task starts to feel heavy. The source quotes scripture here, saying the soul of the sluggard craves and gets nothing.
And that gap between craving something and actually achieving it, it just diminishes our belief in our ability to even start.
It creates a negative feedback loop. The third cost is opportunities. They're time-sensitive. They favor people who are already in motion.
Right. If you're waiting for perfect readiness, someone else who is just moving imperfectly will take that chance. Opportunities don't wait for your internal debate to end.
And the fourth cost is clarity. This is the cruel irony of it all. We delay because we feel we lack clarity.
But inaction just breeds confusion.
Exactly. The longer you wait, the more complicated the decision seems. Movement, the author argues, is the filter. It cuts through the noise and it defines the next necessary step.
So, okay, we know lethargy is intimidated by big plans, and it thrives on inertia. If we can't wait for motivation, and we can't fall into that over-planning trap, how do we break its hold?
The strategy is simple. It's pulled right from the author's engineering mindset.
Small starts defeat magnitude.
That's it. This is systems optimization. If the system has high friction, you just reduce the load needed to get it started.
Precisely. Lethargy is a monster defined by the sheer size of the task. So by asking what you can begin, not what you can complete, you lower your own resistance. You reduce the fear.
You're minimizing the force required to start.
And the source material puts this so beautifully. Do not despise the day of small beginnings. One step, one page, one phone call.
The movement has to be manageable, small enough to bypass the resistance that your fear-driven mind keeps putting up. It turns a negotiation into just a non-negotiable step.
And to sustain that small movement, we have to choose discipline over motivation.
Oh, absolutely. Motivation is sunshine. Discipline is the structure of the house. Motivation is too volatile. Discipline is the engine.
Because the spirit might be willing, but the flesh, or maybe the habit structure, is weak.
Right. Discipline provides the structure that carries you forward when the feeling isn't there. It removes negotiation from the equation. It makes action inevitable, not optional.
And sustained, disciplined action defeats lethargy, not just practically, but psychologically.
Yeah.
Momentum builds. And that leads to the final, really profound shift in the guide.
Momentum changes identity.
This is so powerful. The longer you're stuck, the more being stuck feels like who you are. Your self-perception gets defined by your inaction.
And that's a very hard narrative loop to break.
But action, even a small, disciplined action, is data. It rewrites that story. When you act, you're generating data points that your brain uses to update its own internal narrative.
You stop saying, I am a person who delays, and you start saying, I am a person who moves. Identity follows behavior so much more faithfully than it follows intention.
That identity shift is everything. The source reminds us of David facing Goliath. He didn't wait to feel like a giant slayer.
He became one by acting, by taking that first, small, terrifying step.
Movement reveals the capacity that hesitation was hiding.
So let's bring this home for you. This deep dive reveals that progress isn't blocked by a lack of potential or resources or knowledge. It is blocked purely by delayed initiation.
The cure for lethargy isn't guilt or pressure or spending another 3 weeks on the planning phase. It's just movement.
The final instruction from the author is beautifully simple. Start now. Starting ends the negotiation with delay. The whole instruction is about honoring the power of this present moment.
Whatever your hand finds to do it with all your might.
This deep dive shows that delay has a constant, quiet cost. It drains your time, your confidence, your clarity. While movement, even imperfect movement, it immediately starts to restore all three. So what does this all mean?
The choice isn't between action and rest. It's between action and quiet loss.
So the question for you is, what small action are you postponing right now that is actively costing you clarity and confidence? Get moving.